Hello everybody, my name is Shannon, and first I'd like to say, for those of you that know me, I know that you are used to me sharing my words and my thoughts through poems. No matter how long it ends up being, that's how you're used to me getting things out. However, this time things are totally different. I don't know who this video will reach, but I know that this needs to be shared. It needs to be out there and it needs to be viral. I have a lot of things that have been on my mind and in my heart that I need to discuss. So unfortunately this time, I do have a notebook here. I've got everything written down because I don't want to forget any of it. So hopefully you will all take the time to listen to this and to share this video so that it can get to people that it needs to get to. I know that what I have to say today is going to make a lot of people mad, and I really do not care. If you get mad, then get mad. That is a you problem, not a me problem. But I am going to tell you what my problems are. And I'm going to be upfront about the fact that this involves the LGBTQIA plus community. So let's get this started. The first thing I want to address is that I know there are so many of you out there that do not like people in the LGBTQIA plus community. You have a multitude of reasons. I know that you don't like the fact that our letters are so long. You know, we went from LGBT to, what I just listed. It's hard to keep up with. I get it. But people in our community, they want to feel valid. They want to feel, like everybody is inclusive. They don't want anybody feeling left out. Or like anybody is being ignored or anything like that. So that's the reason that it has been changed multiple times. You may not understand it, but people in the community do, or at least most of us anyways. And so it makes sense for most of us, and it helps everybody feel welcomed and included, because that's a big thing for us. So I also know that there are many other reasons why y'all are against us. And so instead of addressing those right at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and just go along with this, because a lot of those are addressed in everything I've written here. So please be patient with me as I get this stuff out. One thing is, I know that a lot of you think that people in the LGBTQ community are grooming children, or that we're trying to turn children into a member of the LGBTQ community. And that is not what we are doing at all. That is not what we want. What we are trying to do is that we want kids to know that they are loved no matter what. That it's okay to be who they are. If they are a member of the LGBTQ community, it is okay for them to be them. It is okay for them to be who they are, to be true to themselves. They have nothing to be ashamed of for it. Whether that child or that person comes out as lesbian or gay or trans or queer or questioning or non-binary, whatever the case is, there is nothing to be ashamed of. They are still human. Being a part of the LGBTQ community does not change who you are as a person on the inside. Like, it doesn't change your personality. It doesn't change your character. That stuff about you is still the same no matter what. And to be judged because you're LGBTQ when you're still the same person inside, that is wrong and it hurts. Okay? It is not okay under any circumstances. But we want these kids to know that we love them and we accept them for who they are. And that who they are is valid. And that who they are is important, that they are worthy, and that their worth is priceless. Again, if I stumble a little but please forgive me. My mind is full of so many thoughts and so many things I want to say, and so sometimes it kind of runs ahead of me. So again, bear with me. Another thing is that there are so many people in the community, even minors, who have been disowned by their friends and family and their parents. And they've even been kicked out of their homes for coming out as being somebody that's part of the LGBTQ community. When this happens, they feel alone. They feel like they've got nowhere to go, no one to turn to. They go into bad states of depression, and some of them even try to commit suicide, or they actually succeed at doing so. Again, we want them to know that they have a safe space with us, that they have people they can come to. They have people they can trust and that they can talk to. And they can talk to, us people who are already in the community, and we will do our best to help them or to get them in touch with organizations and resources that will help them. Because there are organizations and stuff out there that will help them. Just because you have your beliefs that tell you it's okay to disown your child or a member of your family because they're LGBTQ does not make it okay. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to be accepting of them or that we're going to turn them away just because that's the stuff that you did, because we are not like that. We try to be inclusive of everybody. We try to show love to everybody. We are about love, not hate. And we also try not to judge all of you, but there are a lot of us, I'm not saying myself, but there are a lot of us that have trouble not judging you when y'all are constantly judging us. It's a two-way street. But when it comes to the whole suicide attempts, okay, that has to do with people in our community not being accepted for who we are. It has to do with people in our community being bullied for who we are, being put down, being ostracized, being disowned, being treated unfairly, not having the same rights and opportunities and everything as everybody else. All of that stuff leads to higher rates of depression in our community. The higher rates of depression aren't because we are who we are. It's not because we're LGBTQ plus people. It's because of the bullying and the constantly being put down. It's because of the being ostracized and not being treated fairly. It's because of the religious people who constantly tell us all the time that we're going to burn in hell, that we're going to be put in eternal hellfire or suffer eternal damnation, and that it's a sin, and telling us how nasty we are and how badly we're upsetting your God or anybody's God, because there are a lot of people in the community that are religious and do believe in God. So he's their God as well. And here y'all are coming off and saying all of this stuff, and then you're expecting the people of the community to not be upset by it, to not be hurt by it or traumatized by it. I mean, people in our community are getting beaten up. People in our community are getting sexually abused and raped and denied services at places and everything else. Being called every name under the sun. And we're not supposed to feel anything. You don't think that's going to cause a lot of us to go into states of depression or to become suicidal? Seriously, take a look at look up news articles, okay? I'm going to name just a few names for you. There is one, Leela Alcorn. Leela, who was actually born Josh. Leela was a trans child. That person actually wrote a suicide note to be published online after they committed suicide, sadly. Now, they didn't actually commit it. They were going to. They were. But then an accident happened and they were hit by, I think it said a tractor. and unfortunately they died. But the suicide note was found on their computer, and it was because they were trans and people were not accepting of that, and they got bullied because of it. And that was a teenager. There was also a 12-year-old who was in the LGBTQ community, a kid in California named Leo, and that person also committed suicide. Again, I think it was, from what I read, like not being accepted by family and stuff and being bullied and things. There was a 14-year-old trans boy named Tyler named Kyler, sorry, not Tyler, but Kyler in California. There was also a James Miles, who was a 9-year-old boy who came out as being gay, and that was in Denver, and he got bullied because of it and committed suicide. I wish I could remember the name of it, but there was actually a film documentary I watched years ago that was about a child who, around the age of 3, this child was actually born a male, but around the age of 3 started telling his parents and other family members and stuff that he knew he was meant to be born a girl, and started trying to wear his sister's clothes and everything else. The parents kept taking the clothes away from him, or her, I should say, because I do want to respect her, but started taking the sister's clothes away from her and sent her to a bunch of counseling, and continued to tell her that she was born a boy and would always be a boy no matter what she wanted, no matter how she felt, and that she just needed to accept that. And also had other family members saying the same thing. The counselor was also saying the same thing. And at a very young age, I don't remember exactly how old she was, but she wasn't even 13 years old, and she committed suicide. But she knew when she was 3 years old. Y'all think it's not possible for people to know that they're part of the community at that young of an age, but they do. I've known for almost my whole life. So, I mean, really though. So again, we want them to know that they are accepted for who they are, and that they are loved, and that they have a safe place they can go to. So then let me go into some of the other reasons that we know, or that I know, that y'all dislike us. Because trust me, I've heard quite a few. And I'm not going to touch on all of them, but I'm going to touch on some of the ones that I hear the most. So I know that I've heard a lot of people talk about how y'all just like the crude, vulgar, inappropriate things that children have been exposed to, whether it's like actions, words, whatever, at like drag shows and pride parades. I know that some of you have said, you know for a fact, that children have gone to pride parades and drag shows where they have seen drag performers in like skimpy attire, and people in the LGBTQ community in skimpy attire and like bondage wear and stuff like that, and being like half naked and using bad language, cuss words. Excuse me, I need a drink real quick. Music that has bad language in it and stuff like that. The thing is though, I get that you've seen that. I've even seen videos of some of the stuff concerning like the pride parades. I get that. I'm not disputing what you're telling me. But here's the thing though. Not everyone in the community, not all the drag queens, and not everyone in the LGBTQ community is like that. We don't all do that kind of stuff. We know who our audience is. Most of us know who our audiences are, like for the performers. They know who their audience is. At the drag show, at the pride parades and stuff, we know when it's a family friendly event, and we're going to act accordingly. We're going to dress accordingly. That's for the majority of us. You have some that do go against that, and I get that. But judging those small groups, or should I say judging the bigger group, the LGBTQ plus community as a whole, based off of just smaller groups within our big group, is just like, it's like just as bad as thinking that everyone of a certain race is bad just because a few people of that race are bad. Or it's just like thinking that because a few people of a certain gender are abusers or rapists or users, then all people of that gender must be one of those things. It's as bad as, like, for example, and I said this in a poem I recently wrote, but it's just as bad as, like, if somebody were to say, okay, Hitler was a man and he was a mass murderer, so therefore because he was a man and a mass murderer, well, obviously that means all men are mass murderers. Yeah, not the case. And I hate to use this as an example, but it is another good example. There have been people that I hate to say this, and it's sad to say this, but there are some African Americans that in this day and age still think that all Caucasian people or all white people are bad just because some of us have white ancestors that used to own slaves. That's not the case. Just because some of us have ancestors that did doesn't mean that we're anything like that, or that we hold any of those same beliefs or feel the way they do or anything like that. We are totally different from them. The same goes for how y'all are judging our community as a whole based on like a few bad apples. Really sit and think about that for a minute. Where is the logic in that? It's not. I've also heard people complain about how we still have pride parades. Why isn't there a straight parade? Things like that. Well, let me tell you the really short and dumbed down version of why we still have pride parades. One of the reasons we do so is to celebrate how far we have come in obtaining the rights that we currently have. But another reason is to remind ourselves, remind our own community of how far we still have to go. We still have rights that are being taken away from us. We do not have all the equal rights that everybody in the heterosexual community has. We don't, and we never have. So, with that being said, I'm going to kind of switch gears for a second here, and I'll come back to that because this all kind of ties in together. So I want to go into the whole, all the people that have these religious beliefs, and they're throwing these religious beliefs into why they want to hate us, why they want to discriminate us, why they want to judge us, why they think it's okay for us to be physically harmed and bullied and called names and degraded and put down and treated unfairly. They have different things they throw out as far as the religion goes. But one of the biggest ones that I hear is that I've heard a lot of people say that the Bible says that man shall not lie with man as with woman. Well, first of all, if you've really, really done your research or really looked up information that's been put out there by scholars and stuff who know many different languages and have done their research going all the way back. I mean, all the way back to like when everything about the Bible was first written in its original language. It has come out that what was originally supposed to be written, or what was originally written, was man shall not lie with boy as with woman. It was talking about pedophilia. It was not talking about homophobia or homosexuals. It was talking about pedophilia. That was what was said in the original language. Then, when they came along and they took that original language, and they translated it and put it all into English language so that everybody else could read it and understand it, they changed that one word. They changed the word boy to say man, which completely changed the whole context of everything. So now, instead of man shall not lie with boy, which was referring to pedophilia, it now said man shall not lie with man, which turns it into homosexuality. Big difference, but not what it was ever meant to be. Also, I hear people talk about the whole Sodom and Gomorrah, but if you've really done your research on that, that wasn't about it either. That had to do with that city's greed. The fact that they had an overabundance of things and they wouldn't share with the needy. It also had to do with them just being like evil, and I mean, they were just so consumed with greed and stuff. And it also had to do with their adulterous ways, because the men there believed that they could sleep with anybody they wanted, any woman that they wanted, and it didn't matter if that woman belonged to them or not. It didn't matter if that woman already had a man or not, she was already married or not. They just did it anyways. So basically they were just like filthy, adulterous, greedy people, and because of that they were punished. But it wasn't anything about homosexuality. But a lot of you don't do your research on all of this. There's quite a few of you that literally just read the Bible, take it at face value, and are like, okay, well, that's what this means. Even if you don't really understand it, you still think, okay, well, I think it means this, so therefore I'm going to go along with it. Or other people who haven't done their research say that that's what this means, so therefore I'm going to agree with them, or I'm going to believe what they believe. You got to do your research. Seriously. Y'all have taken things out of context, whether you realize it or not. But beyond that, even if you choose to ignore that and you choose not to believe any of it, it also doesn't change the fact that the Bible says that you are to love thy neighbor as thyself. And a lot of you don't do that. Would you really treat yourself and talk about yourself the same way that you're treating and talking about people of the LGBTQIA community? Would you really do that? Would you really go and put yourself down and call yourself all those derogatory names? Would you allow yourself to be sexually assaulted and raped? Would you allow yourself to get beaten or constantly bullied? Would you bully yourself every day? Go stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself every single day and keep calling yourself derogatory names and putting yourself down. See how you like it. If you wouldn't treat yourself that way or talk to yourself that way, you shouldn't be doing it to us either. Now, back to the whole, rights, equal rights, things like that. We do not have the same rights and stuff that heterosexuals do. There are still places that try to discriminate against us, as in there are people that rent like houses and apartments and things like that, and they will look for some other reason not to rent to like a same-sex couple, like a lesbian couple or a gay couple, because they don't think it's okay that people are LGBTQ. And so they don't want to rent to those people. But they know that if they say that's why they're not going to rent to us, well, then they're going to get in a lot of legal trouble. So they look for any other reason, any other excuse under the sun to not rent to us so that they can stick to their values and beliefs. There are also, believe it or not, forgive me for a minute here. There are also places that if they somehow think or know that you're LGBTQ, like if maybe there's something about your appearance that gives it away, or that just makes them really think that you are LGBTQ. Like, for example, I know a couple people that are lesbians, but no, they look very manly. And it's not necessarily on them, it's just they were born with like more manly features and whatnot. So people question, people don't know. But if these places know that you are, or they think you are, then they will look for any reason they can to not hire you and hire somebody else instead. But they won't give you the reason that you're LGBTQ, because again, they know they can get in trouble for it, at least in most states. But they'll still look for a reason, and they'll find some other reason. Oh, well, I heard somebody else instead because they're more qualified. Or I hired somebody else instead because, well, I thought that based on what they said, they were more available for the hours that I'm really needing, or something like that. You know, they'll look for a reason. I mean, they'll find something. But there's also things like, for those of you that don't know, there was a law that was passed that allows medical personnel to deny treatment to somebody that they know or believe to be LGBTQ based on their religious beliefs. Now, I know that there are certain clauses in there about, you know, what they're allowed to deny and what they're not, or whatever. But the fact is, they still have a right to deny us treatment in certain areas and for certain things, just based on their religious beliefs. Yeah, I don't think that's cool at all. I mean, isn't part of the Hippocratic Oath, you know, that you're supposed to help people? But here you are turning people away and denying service to them because they're LGBTQ and you don't like it or you don't agree with it. I mean, that's not okay. But even more importantly, there are places still, believe it or not, I mean, I've heard some couples talk about this stuff. There are places where, like, I know a couple, I can't remember what state it was in, but there was a couple where one of them ended up in a car accident, and the couple lived together for years as a couple. And one of them ended up in a car accident, and the other one went up to the hospital, and then they were told they couldn't go into the room with the person because, oh, you're not family. But yeah, you know, they were a couple, and they had been living together as a couple, operating as a couple for, it was like 13 years. But yeah, they got denied because, oh, well, you're not family. There are some insurance companies that if your partner is a same-sex partner, because like you're a lesbian couple or a gay couple, they would not let you put your partner on your insurance plan because, well, no, your partner's same-sex and we don't agree with that. So therefore, nope, sorry, you're not getting them health care. Or you're not putting them on your life insurance policy or whatever the case may be. I mean, there are so many things that y'all aren't aware of. Just like the businesses where businesses have turned people away, like for wedding cakes and stuff, because we don't think that LGBTQ is okay. We don't think same-sex couples are okay. It goes against our religion, our religious beliefs, or we think it's nasty or whatever, and, well, I just can't support that. The thing is on that note, they are a private-owned business, so yes, they are legally allowed to. But for this other stuff, these laws and everything, and bills that are trying to be passed that discriminate against all of y'all, I've got something to say to that. First of all, the First Amendment, which talks about separation of church and state, it says that there is to be a separation of church and state, and that basically it means that religious things don't belong in politics. I mean, it's putting it mildly, maybe, but I'll get into a little more detail here. But it says that you are not supposed to use your religious beliefs to deny other people their rights and freedoms. It says that politicians are free to express their religious beliefs, but not to sponsor legislation based solely on religious convictions. It also says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment or a religion, which means basically they can't make any law that basically puts one religion and its beliefs over another. There's also the 14th Amendment directive that states that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. So all of this actually says that putting the principles and beliefs of your religion above those of other religions violates the First Amendment, because it basically sets your religion up as the establishment religion, which also violates the equal protection requirements of the 14th Amendment, because it takes away the privileges and immunities of the people that this will affect or harm. It also does not protect them equally. So basically what this is telling you is that you cannot use your religious beliefs to go making and passing laws and bills that are based on your religious beliefs, because then you're overriding everybody else's religious beliefs. Whether they actually have a religious belief, there's a religion they believe in, like for example, maybe they're Muslim and they follow that religion. Or maybe they're Jewish and, they've got their own religious beliefs and whatnot. But you cannot make a law or, pass a law or a bill that makes your religion supersede all these others. Or it also means that it can't supersede those people that don't have any religious beliefs. So even if it's somebody that doesn't believe, you can't go past that law or bill that's based on your religious beliefs, because then you're forcing them to try to follow your beliefs. You're forcing them to try to live, based on your religious beliefs. And your religious beliefs aren't theirs. But with that being said, it also says that making laws that go against this can be challenged. That means that at the state level, not Congress level, but at the state level, such as what they did with the whole law that says that medical professionals have the right to deny treatment to LGBTQ people, well, yes, okay, the state can make that law. They're more than welcome to. They have every friggin' right to. But the thing is that goes against the First Amendment. It goes against the 14th Amendment. It goes against those things. So therefore, that law gets made, that law gets passed. That means that all of us in the community and anybody that's an ally of ours has every single right to go and challenge that and to make it go up to Congress. And at that point, Congress can and should overturn those laws and those bills. Because that is their right. That is their job, to make sure that things like the First and the 14th Amendment are upheld. So although y'all can go and fight all you want to get these laws and these bills passed and everything else, if you're doing so based on your religious beliefs, we have a right to go and get them overturned. So anybody that's in the LGBTQ plus community and all of our allies, we need to stand up and make sure that these things happen. We need to stand up and make sure that we don't keep letting these injustices be held against us, and that we don't keep having our rights and our freedoms denied to us or taken away from us. They have a right to fight to make it happen, but we have a right to fight to stop it, or to get things overturned if need be. So we need to do our job. But the rest of you who want to use religion as your reason for hatred, remember that the Bible says to love thy neighbor as thyself. And if you're doing hatred towards us, and cruelty towards us, and abuse towards us, and anything else you can think of, all because that's how you were raised, that's what you were taught growing up, that's how your family is, well, then that's on you, and that's your mistake, because you've become an adult, and once you become an adult, you have the ability to change. Yeah, it may not be easy work, it may be hard, it may be a struggle, but you have the choice once you become an adult to either choose to be like the other toxic people in your life, and to choose to be the toxic and negative person that other people have made you out to be, or that they've groomed you into being, or changed you to be, or to become your own self and to be a decent human being who respects and loves other people, and who shares love into the world instead of hatred and prejudice and bigotry and injustice. Only you can decide to make that change. Nobody can make you change. You have to decide it on your own. But either way it goes, if you're going to be hateful, if you're going to keep judging us and putting us down and degrading us, if you're going to be prejudiced and you're going to be a bigot and you're going to be a homophobe, then stand up and own up to it. At least be honest about the fact that that's what you are, and admit that it is your fault that you are that way, because you're choosing to stay that way. Other people may have groomed you into being that, or they may have taught you to be that way from a young age, but you're choosing to stay that way. You and you alone are making the choice to still remain and be that kind of person, not somebody else. That is on you. But now you know why we still have to have our pride parades and what their meaning is. See, there's not a need for a straight parade, because y'all aren't getting your rights and privileges and everything all taken away. Y'all aren't constantly being discriminated against and bullied and put down and beaten up and murdered. We are. We are the marginalized community compared to all of you heterosexual people. So we still have to fight to be here. We still have to fight to exist, and we still have to fight for our freedoms and for our rights. But that's what we want. We want to just be able to exist as a whole without the discrimination and the hatred and everything else. And we want to be able to have the same rights as everybody else. And we just want to spread love into this world. Love and hope and acceptance. That's what we want. And I'm sorry if you're not about, or you can't be about love and hope and acceptance. I think that's a really, really sad world to live in. And I feel bad for you. But you're entitled to how you feel. You're entitled to your own thoughts. And I don't agree with those things. But you're human. And I love you anyways. Have a nice day, everybody.